Khayelitsha residents took their anger to Eskom offices today, claiming their complaints are being ignored. Residents say the power utilities offices are frequently closed and they are not able to resolve their cases. Residents are also complaining about faulty street lights and over 1,000 structures that were promised electricity but are yet to receive it. My colleague, that's our reporter Monique Mortlock, following that story for us, joining us now from our studios in Cape Town for the latest update. We saw those residents of Khayelitsha in the streets of Cape Town today at Eskom. Monique, did they achieve what they sought out to do?
Well, it seems as if community leaders are largely happy by what they heard from the Eskom management who greeted them at the gates of the Eskom local offices. It was quite a large turnout for this peaceful protest that was keenly being watched over by police officers, traffic officials and law enforcement. There were hundreds of residents from different parts of Khayelitsha, Site B, Site C, Elita Park and all over. And many of these residents live in informal settlements where there's no electricity. And among the demands that were on the memorandum is the electrification of informal settlements. And the residents are saying they want the electrification of not only formally recognized informal settlements, but also those that have just recently sprung up. Now, you would remember that during the course of the lockdown, hard lockdown, since 2020, there have been thousands of informal settlements popping up across the city, and the city of Cape Town has been imploring residents not to settle or build structures on wetlands, on areas where it won't at all be possible to set up power lines. And this is currently the situation that Eskom is in, and that many of these informal residents, informal settlement residents are in, because what the Eskom management told residents is that while they wish to address all of the issues raised in this memorandum, there are just some things that are impossible to do, like the electrification of all the informal settlements, because as one of the acting general managers here in the Western Cape said, Mbelelo Yedwa, he said that they cannot just for safety reasons and also as per their policy, Eskom can't install electricity in areas that haven't been formally proclaimed as this area. There are roads and all sorts of infrastructure already there to put in these power lines. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see whether there is a middle ground reached between the community leaders and Eskom management, because that is really what community leaders are looking for power in those areas where there isn't any power, because they say it's because there isn't any power in your pockets of informal settlements like the Nkandla informal settlement, and this is why there is so much crime or the high levels of crime in these areas, because people are walking in the dark, and this is when the criminals take advantage.
Yeah, any idea what they plan to do? Because there's still some further engagements to be had. The residents, are they planning more type of protests, or are they going to be patient enough now and wait to hear from Eskom?
So for now, they'll be patient, although one of the community leaders told me their patience is wearing thin, because for too long they have been told to go to Bellville, which is about a taxi ride away. But for many residents, this is impossible to leave work or to find the money. As one resident, she's a blind woman, she was telling me she has spent the last month going from Bellville back home using her her disability grant, because every time she goes to the local offices to seek help because her box doesn't work anymore, she gets told to go to Bellville. And once she was in Bellville yesterday, she was then told to speak to the city of Cape Town, which she says is ridiculous because she has no one to help her. Her son, who's in matric, has had to stay at home just to take her to those offices. So let's just take a listen to, I believe there's a bite from a community leader or from Eskom. Let's just take a listen.
Yeah, we have heard the complaints from the community loud and clear. What we are going to do, we are going to look at the complaints that have been raised by the community. We've been given about 7 days to respond. We will look at each and every complaint. We are also planning to have engagements with the community leaders before the period of 7 days expires. Just by having a quick glance at some of the complaints raised by the communities, I'm sure there are certain things that we can address, but there are other areas which I think will be difficult for us. If you look, for example, the issue of electrification. The issue of electrification has got its own rules. There is absolutely no way that we can electrify areas that are not proclaimed. So those are some of the issues that we want to discuss with the community leaders. I've also seen a gap here. I think there is a need for us to focus mainly on the customer education. So I was very serious when I talked about launching the community co-op. Community co-op is nothing else but the involvement of the community in trying to resolve some of the problems that have been highlighted to us. So it is something that we are really taking seriously, and we are going to look at each and every issue that was raised, and we will engage the community leaders, and we'll come back to the community in terms of what can be done and also what cannot be done.